What's the most high risk, low reward thing you've ever done? I swam in the Zambezi when I was drunk on a tiger fishing trip. Still can't believe I was that stupid. For those that don't know, it's infested with hippos and crocs, known for taking people. But tiger fishing in the Zambezi sounds fucking sweet though. I didn't know they had poles strong enough to fish for tigers. It's a stick with a wallen bull on the end. Here kitty, kitty, kitty. My friends and I used to target and steal those signs that said, if you are caught stealing you will be prosecuted. Many illegal things were done and many hundreds of thousands of dollars of stuff was ignored to steal increasingly difficult to obtain paper signs. I absolutely love when someone steals something worth nothing while ignoring something valuable just for the sake stealing it. IDKY. Dude, in the dorms we used to steal the no marijuana or alcohol and the do not tamper with adjoining doors signs and put them up on the walls in our room where we did all of the above. So dumb but also hilarious. I had my buddies help me reposition our building lobby couches into my 3rd floor dorm's living room and balcony. Look at us. Fellow former dorm kleptos uniting. Who would have thought? They told us that the couches in our dorm common rooms absolutely did not fit into the dorm rooms because they had been designed not to fit through the doorways. They told that to an entire dorm of engineering students. As you can guess, I had a couch from the common room in my dorm room. I used to dive in ponds at golf courses to collect the lost balls and clean/sort them to sell back to the courses. It's unbelievable just how many snakes, alligators, and leeches live in those things. I made less than minimum wage, around 6ish at the time, and had countless close calls with critters. However, the most dangerous creatures on golf courses are old people. They do not give a fuck if you're working. They will absolutely send balls of hard plastic hurtling at your head at 50 miles per hour without a second thought. Then get pissed when their ball hit your tank or cart and split open. Then demand you hand over some of your recovered balls in compensation. God, I can't believe how entitled people think they are. I would guess that old people on golf courses have to make the list of top 5 most entitled people in general. Have you heard George Carlin's bit about golf courses and what a ridiculous waste of resources they are? It's fantastic. I have not. Source: George Carlin's bit about golf courses. https://www.youtube.com/watch v=z4w7h48tbs8 https://www.youtube.com/watch v=z4w7h48tbs8. I once followed a young homeless man I just met because he wanted to show me where he was staying. It was nighttime and he invited me down into a dip in the trees. We walked through a dark section of forest, then he showed me some rocks and small caves with a couple beds set up. Then we left. I literally followed a stranger into the dark woods because curiosity, suicidality. Never go with a hippie to a second location. Jack 30 Rock. This was Asheville, NC, hippie capital of the South. And after he didn't rape or murder me, he invited me to come hang out with friends. Possibly do some heroin. Oh boy, how was the heroin? Asking the real question here. Told this story before, but it's been a while. My friends and I used to break into expensive looking houses and use their showers. This was in the late 90s, when ridiculous showers were in vogue and we wanted to know if they were actually any good. For the most part they were not. We never stole anything, well, except water. We brought our own towels and toiletries. We were very careful about who we hit and made sure they had set schedules and no children or pets. The reward was a shitty shower. We risked jail time. This sounds like a scheme that would be pulled in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Climbing up a water tower when drunk to find a friend. Turns out said friend was not even lost. He was yelling at me from the base of the tower. Oh. That reminds me, we got the bright idea to go rappelling off a cell tower at like 3 in the morning. This was not a spur of the moment decision. It was planned. After we were done we were pulling the rope down, and I guess we had left a knot in it. Rope gets stuck between the tower's vertical and horizontal supports about 15 feet out from the ladder we were using. Like it was stuck at least 50 feet off the ground. I wasn't about to leave my $100 climbing rope hanging there, so I climbed up, no rope, and walked out on this 15 feet crossmember balancing with nothing to hold onto. Made it to the vertical support where the rope was caught, kicked it down, and then had to make it back to the ladder. Obviously I succeeded, but about 30 minutes after I got down I had the worst stress headache I've ever had in my life. I was puking, my head hurt so bad. I think I was 16 or 17 at the time. It wasn't even that fun. A rock face is much better than just hanging in empty space and sliding down the rope. Edit. Now that I think about it, it wasn't even my rope. I didn't buy my own rope until a few years later in college. So I risked my life for someone else's rope. How the fuck did I get nominated for the suicide mission? Damn, this one is my favorite. Sounds like maybe by the end you didn't think it was worth $100 anymore. I think it was about the time I made it out, kicked the rope down, and was shitting myself about having to go back across the span, that it set in exactly how incredibly fucking stupid that was. I'm lucky to be alive many times over. Masturbate using VaporRub. Thanks for the warning. I haven't done it, but I figured it was basically just spicy Vaseline. It is. Shoplifted condoms 3 years ago. I'm still a virgin. Perhaps the username has something to do with it? CPR on 2 active TB patients. Felt like shit after. Neither made it. If you didn't, you'd be asking yourself what would have happened if you did. Despite the bad outcome, you absolutely did the right thing. Taking a year in a program I wasn't interested in to try and get a girl who turned me down instantly. Dick decisions are always the worst. The human race almost ended because of dick decisions. Source. Just started watching Battlestar Galactica. Stupid horny Gaius Baltar. Whilst building a house, the second floor had an I-beam that extended out into nowhere that needed to be painted with rust protection paint. The floor had not been installed yet and the joists were still going in. To save time, I shimmied out to the end of the beam and started painting. Every breath of wind made the whole thing sway. Just my movements made it wiggle a fair bit. Nearly took a 6-meter swan dive to a concrete floor about 12 times. I could have painted it after the floor was in, but that would mean laying down drop sheets and lots of messing around. Should have waited. Was a totally stupid thing to do. Stupid? Maybe. But I've seen a lot of painters do a lot of stupid stuff like that. Me included. So I think you were just playing the part. I knew a painter. Took a summer job outside of the city. Fell and paralyzed himself. Poor guy bled to death. Family found out days later when he didn't return any calls. Jesus, man. Nah, he was a carpenter. When I was about 7, there was some kind of meeting we had at school where the school counselor was asking a large group of us if there was anything we were sad or mad about. I think it was basically meant as an introduction to the concept of a counselor. I was sad that my great-grandmother had recently died, and I mentioned it. The counselor told me that it was okay to be sad, that there's a grieving process, etc. You know, the regular advice for that sort of thing. But for some bizarre reason, what I told my mother later was completely different. To this day I cannot figure out why I did this. I don't remember disliking the counselor or anything like that. The only thing I can think of is that maybe I was doing one of those nonsensical what happens if I do this thing experiments that old kids do. I told my mom that the counselor had told me you need to just forget about it and move on with your life. I had no idea what can of worms I had just opened. My mom was livid. Over the course of the next few days, she called the school asking why the counselor would say something like that to me, and she discussed it with a few different people. They asked what the counselor's exact words were according to me, and my mom sat down and began to write a letter to make it into a formal complaint. She asked me what exactly the counselor said so that she could put it in this letter. At that point I knew this had gone way too far, and I was feeling bad over the fact that I was going to get this woman in trouble. So I finally admitted, quietly, she said, that it's okay to be sad. My mom, dad and grandmother were all very disappointed in me. My mom asked me why I would lie about something like that. I genuinely didn't have an answer for her, because I didn't know. When I said it, I had no idea it was going to go that far. I didn't know that my mom was going to go all the way to making a formal complaint about it in the few days before she started writing the letter. I was hoping that she'd just sort of let the whole thing go, but she didn't. So I eventually had to fess up. I still feel bad about that to this day, because assuming the counselor was told about this, she had to be wondering why I was trying to get her in trouble. She was a nice lady and didn't do anything wrong. But for whatever reason, I clicked the wrong dialogue choice and quickly realized that I couldn't exactly reload from save. Don't beat yourself up about it. It's totally normal for kids to push boundaries and test out scenarios. It's how they learn. I had a similar experience where I was just goofing with my cousins about seeing a man peeking in the window from outside, which eventually escalated to police searching the area with guns drawn. I let the situation spiral out of control, initially out of curiosity and then out of fear. You did a lot more than most people by actually fessing up before it became too serious.